Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Shadoe Davis Show. This is Thursday, August the 20th, 2026. On the show tonight, I'm hoping that our friend John Villeneuve decides he wants to pop on. We talked about this a couple of days ago. Tuesday was the final sentencing of former Detective Helen Grus in Ottawa. John covered that story and got some video for us and always has some insight. So hopefully he pops on in the next couple of minutes. He knows what time he's supposed to be here, so we'll get him on before the top of the hour. We have some other things that we can discuss tonight as well, including the Liberal blacklist of convoy supporters. This was just released last week, and there are very few people talking about this. But here it is from Juno News. The Liberals' blacklist of convoy sympathizers shared with thousands of corporations. A 2023 inquiry of the ministry tabled in the Commons said the RCMP also sent the blacklist to Canadian agents of foreign institutions like the Bank of China. So that will be coming up in conversation a little bit later on. Of course, there's the U.S.-Canada trade deal, which Dominic LeBlanc, the Minister of U.S. Trade, says is very, very close. It has to be because Trump put a 72-hour hiatus on the 50% tariffs he was going to drop on us late Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. And if there is no deal by, Friday at midnight or Saturday at midnight? I get all that mixed up. I'm sorry, man. I haven't been able to keep track of dates like that since I worked all nights in radio years and years ago. But if there is no deal by tomorrow, Donald Trump will lower the boom on those 50% tariffs. So we have that to look forward to. If the premiers decide they don't want to remove the liquor from the shelves or put the liquor back on, the U.S. liquor like the bourbon and all of that stuff, and David Eby refuses to confirm if BC will put U.S. booze back on the shelves. All of that is coming up a little later on in the show tonight. Apparently, Mark Carney had a meeting with the premiers either yesterday or early this morning and was this close to begging them, as Wab Kinew, the premier of Manitoba, put it, begging them to put the booze back on the shelves. And I don't think it's that important to Trump and Jameson Greer. I don't. What I think is that Trump knows that Canada is divided on this. He knows Alberta and Saskatchewan never removed the U.S. booze from the shelves. And he's waiting to see Carney plead and beg with his own premiers to put the booze back on the shelves. Ultimately, it's a drop in the bucket, but it's a point that Donald Trump is making. At least that's my opinion. I see John has joined the show, so we're going to bring him on in just a second. We'll be right back in 1 minute and 7 seconds. Stay right there.
Oh,
here I am.
there you go. I'm just standing there.
It's the right blend show, ladies and gentlemen.
And I'm silent. There's no discussion on this show.
Just standing there waving. That's like an episode of Impractical Jokers. How you been, my friend?
I'm fantastic. I have to say that music is fantastic. I was really enjoying that. I'm sad that you ended it. It was great.
Wow.
I'm great.
It's just a musical interlude. You're looking good. You're looking healthy. Give us a brief update, if you will, on what's happened to you these past few months. I know that you went in for surgery to correct a defective heart valve from birth. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what happened. And then it was just a bunch of recovery, and life is getting better for me every single day. Got a new job today. I literally walked into a place that I haven't been in 5 years. Okay. Haven't seen these people in 5 years. Walked into the place. And I was intending to say hello to them. I walked out with a job. So I'll take it for now. I'm getting another job in 6 weeks, but amazing people, fantastic. It's a lot of healing happening now, even though, we go back to the times that we were in and how bad and how much animosity there was between people and just such a terrible time to be alive, frankly. But now, like, getting back to some things from the before times. So it's very interesting indeed. And I feel blessed, and I feel blessed every day going for my walks. Things are great. You know what it's like. You're looking good too, sir.
Well, thank you, my friend. As you say, it was a terrible time to be alive, but it was also a tremendous time to be alive because so much changed in a positive way, even though all the negative was surrounding us, right? We had Dean Allison on the show last night, the MP who is behind the Allison inquiry. I'm not sure if you had a chance to catch that, but he, go ahead.
Just give me a quick second here. I'll be right back. Sorry. I just need 10 seconds.
All right.
You finish up with that thought, Dean Allison. He's fantastic.
Dean Allison was on the show last night. In case you guys missed that, go ahead and check it out. It's still up on Facebook. It's on YouTube. It's on X, I think, still. All the big social media platforms you can find me on. And it's also at shadoedavis.com. If you're not an all-access member, I urge you to become one. Support the show. Support independent media. You can get a membership monthly or yearly like that. Welcome back, my friend. What the hell was going on? Dog problems? Or
I forgot my plant.
Your plant?
Yeah. The background plant.
Oh, right.
Be careful.
Backgrounds are very important. I totally understand that. So Dean Allison was on last night, and it's amazing because we also had Sean Buckley on a couple of weeks ago, and Sean is heavily involved, was involved with the NCI and is now involved with the Allison inquiry as well. As a volunteer, he and his wife Teresa are, and so many people are applying to tell their story. There's only so much space, but one thing they both made a point of saying on the show is that there still exists a huge divide between the people that know and the people who are completely in the dark and don't want to know. And that's why there's been no discussion. It's almost like talking about a dead relative or something at a party, right? Like if you say something wrong, then everybody stares at you in the room and eventually you become this big and you have to backpedal and apologize. And that's how he kind of framed it last night. And I thought, interesting. I believe we all have to become a little bit more brave when it comes to this because nothing has been resolved in this country, at least, as to how that pandemic was handled. And all of the people who were injured by that vaccine are still out there, still looking for the medical support they need and for the truth to be told. What are your thoughts on that?
Like you said, they're still suffering. There's been no remedy for them. There's been no recourse. There's been no assistance, right? The government of Canada is going out of its way to deny their requests, to stonewall their requests. It's anti-science, it's illogical, and it's entirely political, right? This is about being right, not about doing right, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense.
That's all they care about. They care about power and they care about being told correct at the end of the day. It doesn't matter that all these facts are coming out with Fauci and everything else, that he knew about the cytokine storms in the uterus or what have you, that he knew about these things, that he was warning his personal friends about it, saying, hey, this could happen to you. But out in front of the cameras, he was saying, you're pregnant, you're whatever, you're vulnerable, you have 16 heart surgeries, go and get this. I feel like if I had done it, I would have been dead. I don't think I would be alive today if I had ever gotten it personally. Yeah.
Well,
and, that's a
decision. You had heart issues, right? Right.
I mean, so, but it wasn't diagnosed at the time. And I do believe that if I had gotten that thing, that I wouldn't be here today. So I stand by the decisions I made for myself as a person, as a human being. I have a right to decide what experimental medical interventions I take. And I have a right to weigh and be informed the pros and cons and the unknowns, because let's face it, even at this point, there's still so many. There's more unknowns than knowns. There's no long-term safety data. Long-term safety data is decades, not 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. And this thing came on the market and they're like, it's safe, it's here, it's good to go. Not true. We still don't know. We won't know for the full scale of this for decades. It will take decades to know. We're not even 20% of the way there, right? So nonetheless, I totally agree with you. I'm glad that people like Dean Ellison and others are being brave enough to put this forward. I'm surprised that the Conservative Party is allowing this to happen, because usually they're very uniform on messaging, and nobody else inside the party is talking about this issue at all. So I'm surprised that Dean Ellison's allowed to do this. Surprised he's not being sanctioned by the party. I know that there's definitely people in the party who want to see a scientific inquiry into this, not an ideological inquiry where we're defending the government narrative at any cost, as has been the case up until this point, where it's like, oh, it's science, it's trust. That's not how science works. Science is about objectivity and measurement and experiments, which we haven't had. Right? It's been, this is the truth. You follow me or you're a heretic. That's a religion, not a scientific approach. That's not the scientific method. That's a practice of religion. And so it's a phenomenal to see that Dean Ellison has the cojones to step forward and to advocate for the, like you said, thousands, hundreds of thousands, however many, one is too many, seriously, gravely injured or even maimed and killed by this intervention. So these people need justice. These people need answers. These people deserve an inquiry with power to subpoena and summon people to appear, to do whatever. And I don't believe that this will have that power, because it's not or whatever, but we need to get to the point where we're there, and we need to get to the point where we're not doing and speaking like mice, but where we're standing by our convictions and the things that are important. And we made our decisions personally for a reason. These the loudest critics of medical autonomy in this particular instance tend to be those who scream the loudest about that for other issues, but they can't seem to have it here. You have to be consistent with the application of your values. I believe that I have been throughout my entire time online. And some people clearly aren't. So what is it at the end of the day? Are we going to be a scientific-based society when it comes to making these types of scientific decisions? Are we going to follow the evidence wherever it leads? Or are we going to come to pre-drawn conclusions? And are we going to chase ideology? Are we going to punish dissent? Are we going to control speech? And I think, unfortunately, with all the laws and the things that are happening, we can see clearly what direction this country is sadly moving in at this time.
It's interesting you say that, because I think a large part of the U.S.-Canada trade negotiations the past few weeks have involved the digital aspect of things, which I'm going to get into in just a second. Michael Geist wrote a great Substack on this just today, and I want to put that up on the screen. What's your take on the Conservative Party as it stands today? There is video of Pierre Poilievre just yesterday endorsing the dairy cartel, getting behind supply management, and suggesting it's something that Mark Carney shouldn't put on the table in these trade negotiations. Allowing more U.S. dairy products into Canada would be bad for Canadian dairy. And to me, that sounds very communistic for the leader of a Conservative Party to say.
Well, I think it's important to understand the ideological differences in what a Tory is and what a conservative is when we do this in an American frame of reference, whereas our political parties developed very differently than the American parties. So our idea of a person on the right in Canada, for example, and historically has involved the rather big governments. So the idea of using the state power to advance conservative values is one of the ways that you can think about Canadian right-wing ideology in some ways. And so, but more than that, though, specifically the use, the protection of the dairy cartel is a very important strategic decision when it comes to places like Quebec and Ontario and other such areas, because the dairy cartel is extraordinarily powerful. They are. It sounds silly when you say it out loud. If you say the people who make the bagged milk, in the Eastern Canada anyways, are some of the most powerful political forces in this entire country. If you say that out loud and you look someone in the face, they're going to think you're a maniac, because how could people who bag milk have so much political power? But the fact of the matter is, for one reason or the other, and there's, I'm not learned in this subject enough to quite understand how they got so damn deep into the roots of everything. But it's not just money. There's a huge and enormous amount of real power in that cartel. And that's correct. That's something I feel comfortable calling them that, because they exercise their power to the detriment of our trading relationships. And supply management, I want to also say that I don't believe it's quite communistic. It's definitely big government. It's definitely managed economy. So I want to kind of point that out. It's definitely to the opposite of the American idea of republicanism and libertarianism and smaller government per se. But in the Canadian sense, the Canadian lens, I think it's aptly applied to either side of the aisle, as we just developed quite differently politically, right? It's not to say our conservatives, the liberals are the liberals. They imported the liberalism, the American ideals, right? Our conservative people are of the loyalist descent, right? The people who believed in maintaining the monarchy and the institutions. And as the longer, this is a very interesting side discussion, which we definitely need to have with subject matter experts, but there's a very good reason why they believe those things. And it served Canada rather well for a time. And in the sense where it's like, these institutions have served us very well. We need to protect and strengthen them, and they keep us unique. They keep us sovereign. There's a lot to that, which I can't go into in depth. Now that's an expansive, very difficult conversation that it deserves an extraordinary amount of consideration in the discussion, and it's a very interesting subject. It's not entirely where we are today, but this is just a long line. Now, the real reason that Pierre is doing this is because of the Quebec risks, because of the risks that this enormous power has to already a rather weak electoral position, right? So the popular and easy thing to do concerning the lobbying forces at play here is to say the milk management, the bag milk people. But the reality of the situation is, as I said, it hurts our trading relationships. That we are when we go into any negotiation, we come from a position where we say these things are off the table. Now, if we think about that objectively, what benefit does that have to our country, where we are sacrificing leverage in negotiation by saying from the beginning, before we even start talking, there will be no discussions of dairy, there will be no discussions of this, that, or the other thing. We are sacrificing leverage for those things. What interest does that serve Canada nationally? Not very, minuscule. I think we benefit from having the competition of American cheese here, to be honest, and for not like whatever the amount of the price is, right? It's extraordinarily expensive to buy American dairy. And besides that, it's also with Pierre, like, as you know, I was supportive of the Conservatives during the election, so I want to mention this before I pass it back. And I did that because I believe that they were the best at the time. Obviously, I don't agree with every policy they had, nor that they have now. I'm very disappointed in some more than others, and I've made some of those frustrations quite known. My experiences with Pierre Poilievre personally, though, when I would see him interacting with the crowd, I was impressed enough that he did the basic things that any leader should, where they at least pretend to connect with people, pretend to care about people. I think he was genuine, but I'm saying this is the bare minimum that any person who wants to be a leader of anything has.
One second, John, before you continue, we're getting a garble, a kind of a cyclical garble in your audio.
Oh.
There's a way that we can repair that just a little bit.
Cyclical garble. It might be
it seems like every 60 seconds or so it's and you're saying some great stuff. You're making some excellent points, and I don't want to miss it.
Well, I don't know if I'm not technically inclined, so I don't know if I can correct that. There's 100,000 things at play here. You know how this is.
If you pop out and pop back in again, I'll bet you that the whole thing will be fixed. Let's give that a shot here.
Yeah, I don't have that made in radio voice. Let's see. Where's this window at? I can't even find it. I'm so incompetent. Okay, here it is.
Should be right in front of your face there, my friend, down at the bottom. There. Okay, so we're going to wait for him to come back. Should only be a matter of time. And it's a shame because interrupting that, I was going to say conversation, but it wasn't really a conversation. It was a monologue that John was doing. And it was absolutely fabulous. I do have some counterpoints to make, obviously. But I want to hear more of what he has to say. So just kind of waiting for him to pop back in here. I don't really have anything else to say right now in this moment as I'm killing time here. I suppose I could sing you a song, but I'm terrible at that too. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go again. All right. Let's see.
Better?
Well, it hasn't cycled yet, so I don't know. But you know what? Let's carry on with what you were talking about, because you made some very good points. We were talking about the dairy cartel. We were talking about supply management. We were talking about Pierre Poilievre and how he deals with people in general, as you observed personally. So please carry on with that.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep this segment short and just kind of wrap that up nice and good for you. So basically, the dairy cartel, in my opinion, does not serve the interests of Canadians, and it's detrimental to us to sacrifice trading leverage in any negotiation with the United States or others to put them before to just blanketly request that they are given special treatment, and that sacrifices leverage that we would otherwise have. That we're demanding something like that from the beginning. We're losing position to do that. It's not beneficial to Canada. So that's
Maybe if you turn your audio gain down just a smidge, do you have that?
Yeah,
that could
is that any better?
Maybe you're over modulating, and that's what's causing this. Let's try that. And the only way we're going to know for sure, John, is as the conversation continues and it doesn't happen again, or it does. So getting back to the negotiations, if Canada decides that they want to go ahead and say these things are off the table before negotiations ever begin, as you were pointing out, well, I mean, that's something that a country negotiating from a position of strength or weakness should never do. And Canada was never, ever in any kind of position to be trying to push the Americans around. For the last 18 months, what have we heard? Elbows up. We've seen Mark Carney take shots internationally at Donald Trump. Now, they say Donald Trump's got a thin skin and he's got a big ego and he doesn't like that. Look, I'll tell you something. If a player in a hockey game goes ahead and shows up the referee time and time again by yelling in his face, eventually that guy's going to get a 10-minute misconduct penalty. 5 minutes, he's going to get the book thrown at him, right? Because you can only take so much. What Trump has been trying to do, in my opinion, for the last year and a half, specifically with Canada, considering that we're one of the only countries to retaliate against these tariffs, us and China, is he has been trying to negotiate the best deal he can for his country. But when Carney made it personal with his remarks, even impersonating him at that speech in Ireland he gave a couple of months ago, and then just this past week, I think he made a joke at Trump's expense about a conspiracy because his monitors weren't working or something, his teleprompter was out. And that kind of thing doesn't sit well. What is Carney thinking when he does that stuff? It made it personal for Donald Trump. And I believe that the reason that he wants the U.S. booze explicitly back on the shelves in the next 24 hours now is to make Carney look bad. Trump understands that Carney doesn't have the power to do that. That power lies with the premiers. So he made Mark Carney today go hat in hand. I've got a clip of Wab Kinew from Manitoba. He made Carney go hat in hand today with all of the premiers, begging for them to return the booze to the shelves. I'm going to throw this clip up of Wab Kinew here. Here it is. Watch this.
Told by the Prime Minister that he wants us to put the booze back on the shelves.
Without giving you details?
They gave us some details, and other stuff they said they're still nailing down. So he was, I wouldn't say that he was begging us, but what is a step before begging? So I get it from his perspective. Why does he want us to take the booze off the shelves? He's the one who got on the phone with Donald Trump, which, you know, I don't think any of us want to be on the phone with Trump or in a photo with him. But there you go. Somebody has to do it. Thank you, Mark Carney, for doing it. And you can understand he got to a place where he can recommend a deal to Canadians. But I think for the rest of us, okay.
Is the Prime Minister saying to the provinces, if you don't put the booze back on the shelves, we won't have a signed deal by the end of the week?
Yeah, effectively. Yeah.
You see, well, first of all, I've got many things to say about that. Number one, the premier of a small, crime-ridden province should not be looking so smug in front of the media like that, not ever. But secondly, he makes the point of vilifying Donald Trump, as all the premiers have done, Doug Ford, David Eby, all of them, well, except for Danielle Smith and Scott Moe, I would say. And he also told the entire country that Mark Carney came to them begging. Now, imagine how Donald Trump, I'm sure he probably saw a clip of that. Maybe, who knows? Maybe one of his people thought it was funny and they brought it to the president's desk. I don't know. But he must be going, yeah, okay. How do you like that, Mark? Because Mark made it personal in the last year and a half. And ever since this whole thing started, I knew that as each day passed, the deal would get worse and worse and worse. We don't know the details of it yet, but it's not going to be good for Canada. Not at all going forward. Well, now you're muted.
At least we fixed that fast.
There
Well, a few
you are.
things to say quickly there. I'm a fan of Canada. I love Canada. I want Canada to win. I don't care who does it. I don't care if it's Wab Canoe. I don't care if it's Mark Carney. I don't care if it's Justin Trudeau. I want our country to win. I want our people to win. Now, like you said, there's a way to do it. Am I going to fault Wab Canoe for standing up there and being arrogant and doing that? Not really. Just because, like you said, does Trump even know that it's happening? And even if he does, like Trump does like to hit other people. And I do believe that when someone punches you in the face, punch them back. But here, like you said, it's been extraordinarily antagonistic. And the reality of why this is so flamboyant, so like this, so personal, is because one, it's extraordinarily popular. It's very popular with large swaths of demographics,
which is amazing to me.
It's easy points. Easy points.
How can that be? Are Canadians that stupid? Do they not understand that the American economy is like 12 or 13 times larger than ours? That 75% of our trade, which is our GDP, goes to the United States? Do they not understand that in any kind of conflict, whether it's economic, military, I mean, we don't stand a chance. Some people have said, well, look at this from the mosquito's point of view. And yeah, the mosquito might get 1 or 2 bites in, but eventually it gets slapped, brother.
That's true. Absolutely. It's never good to go head to head with somebody like that. But the reality of the nature of the situation is that our country, like you said, is smaller. Our country's economy is 10, 13 times smaller. We are at an inherent disadvantage. And while we have shared a historic and celebrated and unusual peace extending, well over 200 years now with the United States as our closest friend and ally, geography has made us neighbors, the whole thing, right? And we're allies, and we've got a long peaceful history in the violent history of the world, which is exceptional. And we do depend on them. I also believe that geopolitics change, and there is value in diversifying our portfolio now. But here's the catch to that: if they were serious about this, it would have been something undertaken years ago. It should have been undertaken years ago. Developing railways, developing pipelines, because what does Canada have that most countries don't have? That's super valuable: energy products, oil, natural gas. The world wants it. So guess what? Build a pipeline, get it to port, and sell it so that we can make money, so that we can do better. We can develop our economy. We can make quality of life better. We can have jobs. We can have growth. We can have security and options. But what did we do? We said raw, this, that, the other thing, whatever.
Climate change, man. Climate change.
The hot word of the week. And we effed ourselves, and we sat in the corner screaming about it. And now we're being bullied and crying about it because we put ourselves in this position. We spent decades wasting time, not building, not developing, not expanding our trade like we should have, like competent leaders in this country. Every single one has failed to develop this country's enormous, amazing potential. This country has been underserved by government after government after government in every form, in every way possible. The resources underdeveloped, the people held down, and in this weird place where we're so antagonistic to the United States. And the thing about Trump, I want to say this, it's a bit off this part, but Canadians are so slighted and so angry by Trump because Canadians view themselves, the Canadians, as a blob. I'm a Canadian, I'm a proud Canadian, and I don't consider myself part of that blob. They consider themselves morally virtuous. They are superior because they are morally better than you. They practice extreme progressivism. They are to be praised and applauded. The election of Donald Trump, for whatever you think of him, and I have quite strong critiques of him in certain departments, was a severe attack on their worldview. And they basically, what happened was they went, how dare you? How dare you defy our progressive religion? How dare you appoint someone who the idea of them is in many ways contrary to this state religion that we basically practice here? And that this thing that we claim our virtue and superiority on. Because when Canadians say that they're better than you, it's not, there is delusion here. It's not an economic statement, because they know the economy of the United States is bigger. They might be stupid, but they know that much. Their belief becomes from, we're smarter than you because we're more progressive than you, because we do X, Y, and Z thing that's coming through the academia, and you don't, or at least not as much as we do. So we're better than you. And so the election of Trump was a big offense to that. And that's really one of many key manifestations of the anti-American impetus and the anti-Trump impetus. Now, Trump in reality has been very different than the idea of Trump. But Trump, it's in the idea as an attack on the Canadian psyche, on the modern Canadian, hand-fed, misinformation psyche.
Now, let me stop you right there. What is the modern Canadian psyche, and when did it start developing?
A long time ago. So Canada's roots in progressivism and left-wing idealism goes quite a ways back. I can't tell you the exact time when it started, but certainly all of my life. And it's many different ideas. It's taking the things that are brewing in the academic world to their endpoints, right? In many senses, it's every social issue you can imagine. It's this, and it's not enough to entertain or to have debate. It has to be this, and continuously moving.
Okay, so let's just call it what it is. It's critical race theory. It's
absolutely.
Environmental,
I'm just
social
trying to
governance. It's DEI. It's all of that stuff.
Absolutely,
that's been
intersectionalism.
Yeah,
that never stops growing, because when one cause is no cause is ever satisfied, and when one cause becomes stale, the next one is immediately adopted to continue the blobbing, right? And so, but the average Canadian isn't processing that. The average Canadian who believes in this position is not thinking about that process. They're thinking, I'm better than you. They can't pinpoint why, but it's because of the fake moral virtue, and so they are personally offended to it's like if someone comes up to a deeply faithful person and says, your God is this, your God is fake, your God is, it's like the reaction of that would have on this person, because their idea of Canada as superior is based on this fake moral progressive virtue. And so the idea of Donald Trump as a slight to that was a mortal wound to the Canadian psyche of that section of Canadians. I'm Canadian, don't subscribe to that. But unfortunately, it looks like most do. Most can't point it out. They know the economy. It's not the economy, stupid. It's not the military. There's a couple of, there's like 10 delusional guys across the country who think we can take the United States. Everyone else knows we can't. It's the moral. It's the progressive moral virtue that comes from the endless intersectionality.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting? You say that's a very good point. And we talk about it coming out of the universities. We talk about it coming out of corporate now. I mean, I believe that most corporations these days have DEI managers, and they have bi-weekly meetings where the staff has to attend and listen to the latest discussion on intersectionality. And I'm not even kidding when I say that. When I left Chorus Entertainment in 2017 or 2018, they were just starting that routine. I was preached to about how white people cannot be, discriminated against. And I thought, who are you to tell me that? And then I remember now that she was just out of radio school by 3 years, maybe. And that's something that she had been taught. But here's something that's interesting. I saw a guy just this past weekend. I hadn't seen him in 10 years. And it was good to see him, right? We're sitting there, we're having a drink, we're having a bite to eat. And the waiter came by, and he was a disaster, complete disaster. He was awful. He was dropping things. He didn't remember orders. He was terrible. So he leaves the table. I look over at my buddy and he's saying, quite the retard. That's what I said. Now I look at your eyebrows go up like that, right? Yeah. 10 years ago, I'm talking like a guy from 10 years ago. And I know that 10 years ago, this guy that I was sitting with would not have even blinked at that word. Yeah. This time it was like, what's the matter with you? Like he was completely offended, like I had just kicked his dog or insulted his mother. And I thought, man, like here we are living in this sea of wokeness, surrounded by it. Billboards, it's all over Netflix, anything you watch on television, anything you hear on local radio. Propaganda, woke. And it's instilled, I believe, into Canadians to feel guilty when they hear expressions like that now. And to take exception to it, right? Now, I don't. I'm somehow immune to it. Maybe you are too.
I believe in speech, and I believe in. I do not believe in censoring speech, because I believe that there's a value in the exchange of information, and I believe that in an open debate, the best ideas win. So I don't ascribe and believe in censorship. I believe in speech. And now some words have histories, some words, some people are deeply offended by, some of them offended for the sake of offense, some of them offended because for some reason they take personal harm from them. But it is a touchy subject, in some ways, some of it. But as my core value is that speech is speech, and speech deserves to exist openly, and best ideas win. That's my philosophy with it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, like that expression is not something I would use generally speaking on the show, right? In a professional way. But just sitting at a table in a lounge with a buddy of mine I hadn't seen in a long, long time and saying that. And he's a good buddy. You know, it's just
locker
like
room talk.
Yeah, it's just a couple of guys having a chit chat, but
it's locker room talk. You know, it's existed forever, and no one used to self-censor it, right? So now you're entering a space where the people are so, like you said, deconditioned the language, where they're like, well, how could you say that? You know, but they don't recognize that you're in ironically, a safe space where, you know, people just speak without trying to change the words that come to mind. Not of like, in my opinion, not out these conversational spaces don't happen out of malice. It's just, you know, the quickest thing to mind. Self-censorship has a whole process of rewiring your brain where you get to the point where you can't even express basic ideas anymore because you're constantly running into, oh, can I say that? Who's that going to, you know, like, and that's the point. That's one of many points.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the trade thing, I want to just circle back a little bit to that because this is a very interesting philosophical discussion. But like I said, I believe that Trump's biggest thing is the idea of him, because he hasn't lived up to any of the ideas of him. But the idea of him was so extremely mortally offensive to Canadians, to their false sense of morality, their superior morality that makes their superiority complex. It's the basis of the Canadian superiority complex, which they also have an inferiority complex as well. But it's a dual relationship that switches moment to moment. It's a very wounded psychology that we need to get over as a country to prosper. But like I said, if we were serious, and it wasn't just the raw anti-Trump stuff, we would have built the ports, we would have built the railways, we would have built the roads. In most of Ontario, it's in one road. You know, I mean, Highway 11 is 17, west of Nipigon is 17. Like, and that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. We have one road. You know, and a lot of the northern reaches of Canada are tundra. You can't really build on them. It's permafrost. It's very difficult to get foundation in. There's nothing growing up there. You know, the tree line ends. Canada has a lot of inhospitable territory, but we haven't used what we could use, not even close. And it's not to say go reckless and go Simpson style, Mr. Burns, dumping nuclear waste into the local pond with the five-eyed fish. That's not what this is. It means we have been given a gift by God, by whoever you believe in this nation, this beautiful country. We haven't used it. We haven't got our oil to market. We haven't developed our people. We haven't provided the opportunities for young and old people alike in this country to prosper, which is the greatest crime of the last many governments. And I just wanted to say this also about Pierre, because you asked about him. And I said, I saw him interacting, thought it looked genuine. And I to me, that's the bare minimum. And also there was a couple of things I like, and there's some conservatives that I liked. I liked Larry Brock. He's retiring. You know, I once watched Larry Brock speak to a protester, I believe it was last year, I think at Parliament opening. This person was, you know, having a very difficult time, not extraordinarily coherent. But Larry sat there, you know, they have this little metal fence right before you go up to the stairs, and listen to this person for like 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm like, man, it was difficult to listen to because there's a lot of pain in there. There's a huge amount of pain, and not necessarily expressed in a radio style. So, you know, just to give your time like that, to me, especially when you know that there's going to be negative press if you're seen with someone holding a protest sign, a Freedom Convoy associated, whatever it is. So that, to me, that bought me a few points with him. You know, I like Jamil Devani. I've spoken to him a few times. He's great. People hate him. Makes me like him more because he just seems like a genuine dude. I like him. I like Andrew Lawton. I like a few of them. You know, there's some good people over there. There is. There's also some people who can't take 5 degrees of heat. And this is a time for standing behind principle. This is a time for leaders who speak bravely. This is a time for conserving what makes this country this country. This country is a very special, unique place. We're also very lucky, fortunate to be born here. Anyone who says elbows up and speaks of Canadian patriotism adopted patriotism as a costume within the last year and a half. I've been wearing it my whole life. It's not a costume for me. It is my identity. I love our country. I grew up in Ottawa. And as you know, as messed up some of the ideologies here, I'm so close to the history and the heart of the country. The Ottawa Valley, up the St. Lawrence Seaway to Montreal, this whole area is some of the oldest settled area in Canada, right? So we have the history of the country here. And as Canada is such a big place, one of the unfortunate repercussions is the farther you get from the heart of the country here, the less coherently connected to the fabric of it you are. Even here, people are throwing away what we have, which is just a shame because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful that we even managed to persist this long, that we've had this peace with the United States. We should have done so many things different, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But Mark Carney's full of it. You know, he's building faster than ever before. No, he's not. Everything he says is basically a lie. And it's just the truth of the matter is that it's sad where we are as a country because we shouldn't be here. We should be winning. We should be trading with the United States. We should be trading with everybody. We should be the bee's knees. We should have lines around the block of cargo ships in every port waiting for everything that we shouldn't just be cutting down trees and mining minerals and putting out uranium and potash. We should have factories here. We should have development here. We should have innovation and science here. We have some of the most brilliant people in the world who have ever lived have been Canadian, have invented and contributed enormously to scientific history, to real history, right? Like so many different amazing inventions that were Canadian made. We should be appreciating that. And here's on the topic of culture and cultural battles. One of the things that a lot of conservative-minded people hate is investment in arts. Well, I think that if conservatives had invested more in arts, we would have been much better positioned for this conflict of culture that we're in right now. By surrendering the arts to the left, we gave all of it to them. We let them control every single artistically minded person coming through the schooling system. We said, no. The arts, culture, history, the study of language, the study of beauty, of visual arts, of sculpture, of all of these things, they're useless. We're not going to give $1 to it. Let that union do it. Let that civic group do it. And what has been the consequence of that? The capture of our culture. So that's, you're going to hate me for saying it, but conservatives should be investing in arts. We should own the fucking arts.
You make a great point. No, that's cool, man. I mean, that's a great point.
We should own it.
If you look at every single rock band or, musical artists, right? Like they're all lefties now. And that's a shame. I mean, because they are. I mean, like every time, you see a liberal commercial, you got like Mike Myers in it, or you've got that weirdo from Alberta who was calling people who wanted to separate in Alberta crazy nutbag. What's her name again? I forget her name. Jan Arden, right? Like all of these people have become so far left, and you're absolutely right. That's a great explanation as to why. Now,
one of many.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you love Canada. Absolutely. I grew up with that idea as well. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I thought Canada was one of the greatest places ever in the world. I've been to the United States many, many, many times. Always felt a little bit of coldness there for whatever reason. Came back home and everything was all right again. But I'll tell you right now, man, in the last 10 years, this is not the country that I was born in. It's just not. It's no longer the same. And I'm starting to think that maybe a weak government based thousands of miles away from British Columbia, Alberta, places like that, is not able to govern everybody. Is the landmass too big to be considered one country? I mean, it's the second largest landmass as far as a country on Earth, behind Russia. I mean, people in Alberta think differently, much differently than people in Newfoundland and Labrador or Nova Scotia or Manitoba for that matter. British Columbia is a whole other matter. I mean, if you look at British Columbia and Ontario, because it's huge and so is Quebec. I mean, even these provinces, the difference in mindset and attitude from somebody who lives in the interior of BC or the eastern part, the Kootenays, or the northern part of BC is so different from somebody who lives on the island or the lower mainland. Like, where is the cohesive identity of this country? And if there isn't one, aside from the flag and hockey and maybe Tim Hortons 10 years ago, then why bother trying to cobble together this crazy quilt of so many different and today hostile ideologies?
It's a very interesting position, and I'll start off by saying, like I've said many times, even though I'm not a public official, I don't have to say this. I said I believe in Canada. I'm a federalist. I believe in the United Canada, and there's some things to talk about what you just said, because it's very important. But that being said, I respect the democratic process and the right of a people to self-determination. So should any vote happen, with that not being directly mentioned by yourself, I just said, like that's to be respected. Now, the size of the the country of Canada is enormously challenging logistically, culturally. Every single part of this enormous country, and to put it into scale, is hard. Anyone who's ever driven across Canada knows. But like driving from my house to an hour east of Alberta border is a 33-hour straight drive. From here to your province, not even Winnipeg, is 24 hours, 23, 24 straight.
Yeah.
Right?
I've done
Thunder
it.
Bay, 19. Oh, I've done it in one shot.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Beautiful,
It's
rocky, dangerous road. 17 is a dangerous road. They call it, they always love to emphasize how dangerous it is. The damn thing's like 2,000 kilometers long. Of course they're gonna have a lot of accidents on it. It's bigger than most countries. It's bigger than like all of Europe, one end to the other, basically. So like, there was 3 accidents in this week on Highway 17. It's like, dude, the highway's 2,000 kilometers long.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about it.
It's crazy how big.
Even with the internet, right? Like that has united people. Like me and you were talking thousands of kilometers away from each other right now. There still persists the cultural differences, the historical differences, and the local needs. People in Newfoundland and people in Red Deer are going to have, someone in Goose Bay and someone in Red Deer are going to have very different needs and very different opinions just because of their situation. The fact is, we're dictated by the circumstances in which we live. If you're in one place, you have the needs of that place. You have the resources and opportunities of that place. You have the desires that situation puts you in that place. So across such a geography like Canada, from mountains to rivers, to where economies are lumber-based, to where they are mineral-based, to where they are, and unfortunately, none of that's being developed. And I believe in not only that, but, and honestly, again, not Mr. Burns style five-eyed fish. Like, we all believe in preserving the beauty.
Three eyes.
5 is more interesting.
But
we all believe in preserving the natural beauty. Nobody here wants to dump toxic sludge, but it's been taken to such an extreme where doing anything is impossible. Like building something takes 20 years and 17 studies and $80 million before you even have a shovel. So I'm saying, like, we have opportunities here to both natural resources, to process resources, and to also build advanced industry manufacturing. Like, why do we outsource all of our manufacturing everywhere else? Because should anything catastrophic ever happen or relationships break down, all of a sudden we don't have anything anymore. We don't have cars because half the stuff for it is made somewhere else. We don't have computers. We don't have this. We don't have anything. We don't have anything. We have sticks. We have sticks if we're lucky. Because we don't know how to make anything.
Trump's going to put 50% tariff on those too.
Right.
So, you know what I urge you to do, and because this is a fantastic conversation. I want to get into Helen Grus in a couple of minutes, but you know what, dude? Anytime you want to continue on with this conversation, and I'm not saying it's over yet, but you did tell me that you retired earlier today, and I respect that. So I don't want to.
I just got my second win, man. But I'll just end it like this, because I was kind of meandering there, and there's a point to this.
Wait a minute. Let me make my point, because it's very important. Everything that's been happening in Canada for the past 30 years or so is all about deindustrialization. It's all about Agenda 2030 by the UN, right? Which was Agenda 21, which was signed by all of these countries in 1992. That's the situation that we're in.
It's not a conspiracy.
No, it's real, man. I mean, all people have to do is go look it up. It's online. It's there. You can.
And they're like, oh, so what? It means nothing. Well, actually, it means a lot. First it's a conspiracy, and second, then you show them the signatories, you show them the whole document, you read it to them, and they're like, well, that just doesn't mean what it says it means. That's basically, you get level after level of cope. I still believe the solution is the same, regardless of the intention, is to love our country and to build our country. Because if we build our country, everyone's better off. There's a lot less fighting. There's a lot more cohesion. When people aren't hungry, they're not fighting as much. When people aren't suffering, when people can buy houses, they know their kids can buy houses, when they know that their country's going to exist in 30 years, that it's going to be a unique thing. And that's one thing I want to point out, is when Canada historical identity was disassembled, and the idea of who is a Canadian was basically eliminated, what we did is made it so that there is no identity. You can't unite a country over fucking hockey and Timbits. You can't, because that's not a country is a nation, and a nation is a people. And the people of Canada are of a wide variety of backgrounds. The first settlers were French, the English, the Scottish, the Irish. Okay, it's in the coat of arms, and they say you can't talk about this anymore. They say it's white supremacy. No, it's our history, it's our culture. Every other country on the planet is entitled to a culture, to a history, and so are we. Yeah. And we damn well deserve it. It doesn't mean that anyone else can't not come here. It means that we have a history, that we are a people, a unique people. And in fact, French Canadians have existed for so long that they have a unique genome. They have a unique DNA sequence to them because they've existed in that state so long. They are literally a unique people with a unique origin. They are.
I know.
This is something that has led to the erosion of our country by saying that we have no national identity, that we are a country of hockey. What is Canada? We're hockey. We're Timbits. We've said we are nothing, and we've allowed that all these competing ideas to just come in and try to claim Canada's this or the other thing. Canada's nothing. It's led to atrophy. It's led to balkanization. It's led to strife because we have nothing common to unite us besides, like you said, useless platitudes, things, culture, useless sports. Hockey's cool for some people. I mean, some things are pretty cool, but it's not something to unite a country around. It's not a country. Country is not a hockey game. A country is the history of that place. It's the people of that place.
Do you remember back in the day, and you might be a little bit young for this, but
I am.
There was these vignettes that they used to put out about a Canada moment, right? And they would air between commercial sets on TV, and it would be like a 60-second thing. Valor Road. The reason they named a street Valor Road in Winnipeg, where it used to be called Pine Street, is because 3 brave young men volunteered to go fight in World War I. And it was a fantastic 60
God bless them.
Yeah, but they used to put out, there was probably 50 of these things that used to run.
Johnny McDonald?
Yeah, all of that.
I can't read Historic of Canada, I think you're talking about. The guy they're talking about the invention of the schoolhouse or the propagation of the schoolhouse across the Canadian countryside. And there's these angry guys in the schoolhouse, and they're gathered around this school. They're complaining about her, and the guy is handed something at the end. He's like, "I can't read. This is like," or he says it in some weird accent. But yeah, no, they're great. And there was like obviously Terry Fox. There's all these cool. Johnny McDonald, I think, was one of the very last ones they made. They made one for the War of 1812. So that's the
thing is, like, that's long gone now.
We used to celebrate ourselves. Now we have no identity. We have no history. And when you have no identity and you have no history, you have no country. There's nothing binding you together. You're just floating in the air, and the wind coming along, the gust will blow you apart because there's nothing binding you together. Yeah. So this is the problem. And then also the fact that there's so much disparity in the country, that there's so much. Now, it's not to say you can't have a country with different needs in different areas that is not united, but we need to accept the common Canadian history and a common Canadian culture, right? Common Canadian. There's something unique about us. That's okay. It's not off place to say that. It is. All right. Everybody in the world is unique. We're no exception to it.
Now, the thing about Canada right now, with Mark Carney in charge and Justin Trudeau before him, is that we have gone through, and it's not just those two. I mean, deindustrialization has been happening in Canada for quite some time, for probably 30 or 40 years now. And as you say, we need to be able to build things to become self-sufficient, to be an actual sovereign country. But I believe that Canada, at least now, and maybe always has been, it's just a vassal state. It is a proxy for the City of London, which controls a large part of the world's economy. And I believe this is what Donald Trump is fighting back against by trying to reinstitute the American system a la Alexander Hamilton. And that's why the tariffs. Now, that is a different philosophy altogether. You can, if you guys want to see Promethean action, talk more about that, or Rich Does Politics, go ahead and do that. But this is something that I've been talking about for quite some time. Unless we get rid of that philosophy, that Agenda 2030 philosophy, none of the things that you have talked about, and rightfully that you've talked about, what Canada needs to do to become an actual sovereign country, are ever going to happen. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, so we're definitely a vassal state. I don't know if we're a vassal state for London. They basically can't control themselves at this point, but definitely
no, the city of London, which is a different entity altogether, right?
There's definitely some philosophers of different European and British origins who are less than who are malicious and who are thought leaders in certain circles of transforming the world and ideologies to do it, like 2030 and so on. I believe, if my personal perspective is, we're more vassalized by the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that had preserved Canada in the tumultuous reality of our world was our unique English settler, French settler identity that we held on to so fiercely, keeping us separate from the Americans and creating this identity in the first place. And again, no harm, no ill will towards anybody, and including Americans. But I believe in Canada. I want Canada to win, right? And I don't want to be vassalized by the United States. But these choices have been made long before I was born. We didn't build. How can you be a sovereign, strong country when you can't even build anything? You can't get anything out of the ground. You can't use what God has given you. You're just basically floating in the wind. You're like a bag, you're a big fight, tough bag, but you're a plastic bag in the wind. Like, sorry to say, the Katy Perry song, actually, it was sung way better by a guy by the name of John Tron. He did a way better version of that. So, internet YouTube celebrity.
But when we
we got Helen Grus, I think, still to talk about.
yeah, we do. Before we get to Helen, and that's coming up, you guys, because John covered that the other day in Ottawa. We've got some video of that.
Important.
You said that you're a Federalist, and that's cool with me, whatever. But here's a young lady. This video has gone viral all over X. I'm not so sure about Instagram, definitely TikTok. Her name is Madison Holmes. This is a 3-minute video. She's 23 years old, and she says that if an actual referendum for Alberta separation were to happen today, her X would be marked in the separation column. And I want you to listen to what she has to say. Everybody, pay attention to what she says. It's very important.
Am I in favor of Alberta independence? Well, as a young adult, age 23, I still find my perception is molded by others. And on the topic of Alberta independence, there's no exception. After listening to all the questions and concerns of all generations, if ever there was a ballot in front of me on whether or not to vote Alberta out of Canada, my pencil will be checking yes. And it'll be doing so with confidence. Now, confidence in what, you ask? Alberta's success? How do you know? Well, really, I don't. I'm not always naive. And on the subject of forming a new nation, fostering a new culture as consequence, I'm indubitably not naive. That's a big ask. An important one. And anything that important is bound to be difficult. Howbeit, I am a Harry Potter connoisseur, so in the words of Dumbledore, dark times lie ahead of us, and there will be a time when we must choose between what is right and what is easy. I'd be voting with confidence that my future is finally in my own fingers. I want kids. I want a property with real grass. I want a car that won't break down in 2 years because it's secondhand. My best friends are leaving Alberta because they can't afford rent, insurance, schooling, appropriate food, all at the same time. They said to me upon our goodbye, "We wish we had what your family does." The only reason I can afford to be as politically involved and entrepreneurial as I am is because I have 7 people in my household, 7 incomes, holding myself and 4 other young adults in this house afloat. I have a rare gift that my friends don't, and they know it, and that mutilates my heart. I understand why the older generations are afraid of starting something new, but what they grew up with, that gift, is now obsolete. I'm suffering for it. If I'm a traitor to Canada for voting for a better future, they're a traitor to their grandkids for voting against their future. This isn't about Canada. This isn't about Alberta. This is about the youth. I'm choosing the next generation because relinquishing Canada is nowhere near as treacherous as remaining in it. This testimony is the result of apathy from all Canadians. All of us. The lack of involvement and education in our population has left us all equally derelict. This is not an Alberta issue, and I have to do something to change it, even if it's arduous. So I'm voting yes to Alberta independence.
That's pretty heavy from a 23-year-old kid, and she makes a lot of great points. unless we're able to turn this whole ship around, get rid of the net zero ESG ideology like yesterday, the Canada that we love, John, is never going to come back. I'm sorry to say that, but that's how it looks.
I have to agree with a few things she said, and one of them, the most that I agree with 100% the most, is hard times are ahead. And the thing about what she said, I respect the idea that as a smaller country, you would be closer to the center of power and therefore feel more involved and more impact in your voice. Most elections are finished before Alberta even counts, right? So that I understand the grievance of that. Unfortunately, as we've been talking about this entire time, the ills that have swept Canada and the entire world will also sweep and have swept Alberta. I don't know how a referendum in Alberta would go. I think that there would be a sizable population of people who would vote to leave. But I think no matter what, the results will shock a lot of people. Either that they overestimated or underestimated. Someone's going to be upset. That's a safe bet. But long story short, at the end of the day, say Alberta did all these things, Republic of Alberta, whatever that would be, forms. Unfortunately, the cultural issues, creating a culture, as she said, this takes a very, very, very long time. It takes hundreds of years. It takes many generations. Not to say it's not an effort worth pursuing. Despite my satisfaction in being Canadian and my respect for the things that kept us Canadian and sovereign and the institutions and such, I also respect the great thinkers of earlier centuries, like in the United States, the independence, the fathers of independence, especially people like John Adams, who wrote extensively about the idea of nation, the idea of sovereignty, of all these things. Ben Franklin, a republic if you can keep it. I believe that was him, right? So there are causes worth pursuit. I think that unfortunately, though, the same forces are at play every single corner, every single inch of this globe. The one thing it would do is make you closer to it, but I think at the end of the day, the results would be much the same. Now that I could be wrong. That's just my position. And again, like I said, the right to self-determination, if you don't have it, then you have nothing. So if people want to do something, they're entitled to do it. If they pass that, then that's their decision. If you can't self-determine, then if you can't decide how to govern yourself, then you have no power in your life. You are a slave. You're powerless, and that's not a world that I believe in. And so I respect self-determination as much as I disagree with certain outcomes or don't want them. So yeah, that's what I'll say. And she's very well spoken. I could tell she likes to read. A lot of I felt like I was having a bit of a thesaurus there, and definitely arduous. Dark times ahead, indeed. And hard or easy. Unfortunately, most things are both.
It's
always easy.
We need to talk about Helen. We got to,
because she's good news. It's bad news, but it's good.
Okay, so we've been on an hour, and that was the main focus of the thing tonight, talking about Helen Grus. And this has been a fantastic conversation. Anytime you ever want to pick it up again, man, this is a great conversation.
We'll be back again.
Yes, okay. Helen, on Tuesday, got her final sentence, and she was demoted in rank for a period of 24 months. So this is a temporary situation, hopefully. So you covered that. How was that day for everybody?
Well, thank God it only took an hour and a half, but it felt like it felt very long, because after about the first 15 minutes of the written decision, because he's reading, and I want to know how different what he read was from what was written down, because it was so poorly orated in that room. There was basically, he didn't even know how many pages was in this thing. He's like, it's 37 or 38 pages when we start, and after the first 15 minutes, I feel like he said absolutely everything, and he just said it 4 more times. So it was very uninspiring, a lot of political messaging in there, a lot of logical fallacies. We can't discuss this because it's an issue for appeal, like X thing. We can't discuss X argument from defense. That's an issue for the appeal. And then, of course, when you get to the appeal, they're going to be like, well, X issue was an issue for trial. So isn't it great how they can do that to you? They can say, yeah, we can't talk about your argument because that's for next time. That's for the appeal if you ever do it. You get
They've
to the
been
appeal.
screwing with the system ever since this whole thing started, right? Like Bathsheba Vandenberg. I mean, the lawyer there, Helen Grus's lawyer, Bathsheba, she has been probably more frustrated than any lawyer I've ever seen comment publicly on anything.
Yeah, they usually be pretty tight-lipped, usually lawyers. But she said, I think the quote I remember for her most on that day was, "This is the final death nail of justice in Ottawa," and she's not wrong, because the first of all, the idea, I don't even want to go into I do, but the specifics of the notion of an unauthorized investigation into sudden infant deaths is so ridiculous that on its face, prima facie, it is wrong. There is no argument that could be made to defend that position. There's no such thing as a designated sexual assault and child abuse investigator being unauthorized to investigate sudden infant deaths in the city of Ottawa, as is their mandate. There is nothing prohibiting that. It was invented for political purposes. So I'll walk you through the timeline as this, if I understand. So originally, pandemic comes along, Helen Grus, she's wearing her mask. She's wondering why other people aren't masking. And as time goes along, maybe her position changes, but she's always acting professionally. She's always doing the bare minimum to be in compliance. She's a police officer. She is a person who enforces the rules. And society is based, and the function of peaceful society is based on the following of rules, whether we agree with them or not. It's the thing that keeps us from hurting each other, and from might makes right. Following rules separates us from societies of violence and societies of stealing and societies of terrible, unimaginable things. And so someone who swears their life to do that follows rules and enforces them, even if they personally disagree. And that's the professional in them. And that's what she did. Now, that's not to say you follow illegal orders. That's very different. You have to, as a person, make that decision for yourself. And everyone's going to say, it's like it's illegal to follow an illegal order or something like that, but everyone goes along anyways, right? And where's the line? And no one ever sees it, even in retrospect. Oh, there it was. We passed it about 17 miles ago. But so long story short, she's not creating scenes at this place, from my knowledge of things. She's not going around with a sign in the unit when she's investigating. She has been praised as an investigator over the years, from the things I've seen, even comments on places like Reddit, from people who had a vulnerable child in their family brutalized in the most crimes, the worst crimes a person can do in our society. And the only thing that salvaged anything for them and their family was the persistence and professionalism of Ottawa Police Detective Helen Grus in putting that person behind bars. So they spoke her for her entire long career, 23 odd years. She has done nothing but serve this city and this community and protect our innocent people. And that was her job. And she wasn't to go and ask permission. She's a police officer. She is invested in the authority of the state under the powers that be that make her a peace officer in Canada, in the province of Ontario. She is authorized to investigate. She is authorized to arrest. She is authorized to pursue the evidence. That is her job. She's independent in doing so, and to prevent it itself is a crime. To interfere in an investigation is a crime in our country in the Criminal Code of Canada. She has been given that power for a reason, and she wielded it responsibly for her entire career, and she continued to wield it responsibly during the COVID pandemic. There was a surge of sudden infant deaths. Her unit was mandated to investigate. Now, we're going to go into a little bit of specifics here, and someone might need to correct me on this, but we're going to stay as general, because I don't like to. I'm going to say some numbers here. I might be wrong. Unfortunately, a lot of the days of the trial were double booked. There was a Tamara trial, and then there was a Helen Grus trial on the same day. So it was, and in many cases, and also my health prohibited me from attending. But say there was a increase in sudden deaths, and there's a form that police in Ontario and police use for the death of an infant, a sudden infant death syndrome, and particular suspicious circumstances where there's no known cause. There's a form. And on that form, to my knowledge, this has been reported by, I believe, Donald Best a few times, who was himself a Toronto police officer. There's a section on that form in where the officer, what vaccinations does the parent have? That's on there. Apparently it's been on there for decades. Decades. It's just there. Why? Adverse reactions, just medical facts, it's basic thing. It's not a pervasive question. It's not a penetrative question. How many people have you slept with your life? It's not like that. It's always been there. It's not new. I think how the story goes is she noticed that for these particular infants, there was nothing in that category. She's never seen that before. Her job, she is a SACA detective. These are the highest detectives basically under homicide. They deal with the most violent and atrocious crimes that occur in our society, and they're entrusted with investigating them and punishing the people responsible. That is their job. They have full independence and authority in doing so. They don't go and say, Chief, can I go and investigate this assault that happened at the bar? It's not how it works. And so what did she do?
Right.
As I understand, there's a police information system. Looked up these cases, which she's entitled. She's allowed to do that. There's nothing that says she can't look up a case on CP. Police do it all the time. How many times has fucking police officers looked my name up? How many have they looked your fucking name up? Was that an authorized decision? They did it for political purposes. You're a political person. You're talking political things. Why were they fucking searching you in CPIC? Why were they searching me? Did they go and ask the fucking Prime Minister of Canada? Better yet, were they told to do it? So this is the logic that we have here, right? So like they were being tracked, but she goes in there as a designated investigator of sudden infant deaths and sees that this field that she saw her entire career is gone. It's not there. There's nothing there. Why? So she asks the colleague or something. I don't know exactly how it percolated. She asked somebody, and I don't know about that. I don't know. It's of course, they've never seen this before. It's always there. Why isn't it there? There's nothing, right? Or seriously missing information on a standard form. It would be like a standard form where the fucking name is gone or the date of birth. It's like it's incorrectly, improperly investigated, improperly documented. It's missing basic information. So her detective skills are like, all right, was this even done? Was this investigation, which we're mandated to do, done properly? Because we're missing basic level information here. This is a problem. This is a routine form that has been largely unchanged for decades, missing basic information. Why? So I think as it goes, now this is again, I don't want, so it was a series of 9. Okay, there was the 9, all of them, to my knowledge, missing this in the record system. She had unauthorized access of 22 police records. Eat shit. That's her job. How many times has my record been authorized? Which politician is authorizing it, Mr. Renwick? Like, come on, fuck off.
Right.
So she's a dedicated, charged with the investigation. That is the mandate of the SACA unit, to investigate sudden infant deaths. That is her job. And she's done it forever. And there's basic information missing on this paperwork. So finally, she, as a police officer, now I want to be correct here, so please, everybody, place a grain of salt on this. As I understand, she places a call to a father of one of the infants and says, was your wife vaccinated? Again, grain of salt, guys, let's fact check here. Okay, so that happens. And then it's a simple phone call. It lasts, I don't know how many minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes, whatever. It's over. And as I understand, this entire time, Helen Grus was not hiding the fact that she was doing this. She was, as the protocols were established for reporting any inquiries, she was following them. She wasn't writing, I did this at this time, at this point, I'm this, but she followed all the established protocols. She made no attempts to conceal anything she did on that system or in that inquiry. And that inquiry, she asked colleagues, why is this basic information that's always there gone? Basically, right? And they're like, oh, and then they all start talking amongst themselves to understand, you're an anti-vaxxer, Helen Grus is an investor. And then at some point, somebody in this unit leaks some of this information to somebody at the CBC, as I understand the story. CBC prints this, becomes a huge scandal. Brass of Ottawa Police comes down, charges Helen Grus with discreditable conduct for performing a basic inquiry. A very short phone call, to my knowledge, is, again, please double check the sources, but a basic inquiry into why simple information on a form was gone. And they stretched that into this massive thing, discreditable conduct, which is what police officers get charged with when they're like, read some of the recent Ottawa police decisions on discreditable conduct. It involves officers driving drunk, getting into an accident, not reporting it to police, and driving home and concealing the cruiser, basically, or doing like leaving the contact information with the person and leaving the scene, drunk out of their mind, right? That's discreditable conduct. Rightly so. Or a sex assault that gets criminal charges. Obviously, police are always treated better in the system. There's no equal justice. It's not a thing. They get a lot of these sweetheart deals with the Crown, right? And they get the charges lowered and stuff that me or you would never have that opportunity.
Selling drugs, we get it, like the discreditable
all this shit.
conduct.
Oh yeah, so that's what it is. And she gets that, right? Because in the internal police disciplinary hearing, and then they crucify her. She spends hundreds of thousands of dollars defending her good name. She gets all kinds of people saying, Helen Grus is an amazing investigator. She saved my family's life. We were brutalized and traumatized, and she's an amazing detective, and the only reason we got justice. Helen Grus is an angel. That's what we hear over and over again. Helen Grus, even to this day in 2025, glowing commendation letter of review from her robbery unit where she is now. saying she's a phenomenal officer. She passed her sergeant's exam years ago. She should have been a sergeant, a leadership position in the Ottawa Police. She should be in the damn brass. She should be an inspector. She should be the person making decisions in that very crooked organization, because she's righteous, because she's a police officer, because she's responsible. She never leaked any of that to the media. She never made a scene about that. She inquired about why basic information was missing from a form that has always been there. Level grade 1 stuff. First day, why is your name not on your homework, mister? Kind of thing. It's a basic shit when you're investigating something as serious as the death of an infant, which is your mandate.
So
it wasn't an authorized investigation. It was her job.
With all of the information that's come out these past, I guess it's been 3 years or so now that this whole thing has been going on. It's ridiculous.
They don't acknowledge any of it.
They don't acknowledge any of the outside information that's come into this, and they are hell bent on making an example out of her. But you have to wonder, when you talk about, like police officers going to the mayor or going to the premier.
Well, that's basically what he's saying now. He's like, in the sentence he said, and this is important to understand, like, you unauthorized access of police systems. No, she didn't. She's entitled to do that. She's entrusted with the authority of a police officer to perform investigations relating to her mandate. And she wasn't even performing. She was looking at a record in a record system. That's why it's there. She's not looking up the address of an ex or stalking someone.
But
she's doing police work.
My point is this: like these, the prosecutors, the ones who are trying to frame her for this ridiculousness, are they self-motivated, John? I mean,
absolutely. It's politics. It's politics. It's all about embarrassment. It's about we're right and you're fucking wrong, and don't even ask me why.
But they know they're wrong. I mean, everything that you've just said in the past
most of them,
5 minutes.
A lot of them do. A lot of them refuse to admit it, and it's such a deep. We all suffered so traumatically. That's the thing about the hearing. COVID was a hard time. We were preparing to institute the mandatory vaccine mandates. Well, gee, Mr. Renwick, Mr. Hearing Officer, didn't you consider that maybe the Ottawa Police Service was not correct in that? Well, everyone else was doing it. That's probably what he would say. I'm just a hearing officer. I can't decide on that. But it was a very tough time for everyone. Everyone was traumatically, psychologically injured, whether they admit it or not, whether they went along or not. Most of them went along to stop the injury that was happening because they couldn't handle it. Society was falling apart. We were in pieces. Our country was in tatters. Our world was in tatters. People were at each other's throats. We were locked up like animals. People couldn't handle it. They were losing their mind. So they were doing anything they could to get out of it as quickly as possible. They couldn't withstand a minute in the oven, in the kitchen. They couldn't handle the heat. So they went for the first opportunity to get out, and then they redirected the hurt that was given to them by being put in that pressure cooker onto anyone else who was standing up for themselves or who was resistant to the system, because they figure, okay, if everyone just capitulates, it's over and we're not going to be harmed anymore. So they turned their trauma against other people. That's what happened. And some of them just wanted to do it to feel big.
It's interesting. You're right when you say that, but that was then, this is now. And
still,
why are they holding such a grudge?
Because they're harmed. They're psychologically mind-effed. And so they're taking it out on anyone they can. And then some of them, I choose out of the hope in my heart to believe it's the minority, are doing this out of vindictive nature to exercise big, to feel big, to feel powerful, and to make others small and to abuse them. Okay. Anytime there's a system of power, it's bullying, right?
I've got video here. I'm not sure if this is yours or not, if you took this, but I'm going to put this up here. This is Helen and Bathsheba walking out of is it at the courthouse or the police headquarters? Where is this?
It's a satellite office of the Ottawa Police Service. Their main headquarters is on Elgin Street on Ottawa. This is in the west end of the city of Ottawa. It's Huntmart Police Station, usually where I think all the city's collision reports go. Okay. But there's a hearing room there where the hearing took place. Yeah.
Okay, here it is.
This is just after the penalty
it's Dave Freedom's video.
Where she
Dave Freedom.
now faces 2 years
I can hear his voice.
demotion from first class constable to second class.
I am praying even for retired Superintendent Chris Renwick, and I pray for our whole community, because you know what, we will get there. We will make things better. Look at all the love. Just choose kindness, truth, compassion, respect, because I know these officers love us. We love them. They're my brothers and sisters. And let's fix things. Let's make things better, because working together, we can do that. Yes. Oh yeah. And I'm proud to say we will be appealing on all levels. She's the brave. She is a rock. Sorry.
Helen's always very positive. For me, it's all about a very long fight. We have a very long fight ahead.
That guy.
Today is a day where we saw, I'd have to say, the final nail in the coffin for the rule of law here in Ottawa. I am very concerned for all police officers. The message today was that police officers will not have a fair hearing. And that is very disconcerting in the area of law enforcement. Our police officers are cherished members of our community that keep our communities safe. And so we need this decision to be quashed and overturned. We also need the truth to be told and to be spread internationally. And I'll leave that in your hands to tell the story. Thank you.
Yeah.
So they are going to appeal this, obviously. More money out of Helen's pocket, more time. I mean,
She should be the chief. She should be the deputy chief by now. She should be an inspector. She should be making decisions, not going through this. You see the type of woman that she is, her strong character, her forgiveness, her trust in the brotherhood that they have as the police. Like, even after all the abuse that she's been through, this is the woman, this is the type of person that they choose to run over with a bulldozer. A person like that.
It
says
there
it all,
any
doesn't
path
it?
forward to some kind of resolution that makes sense here? John, do you see it? I mean, like, they say they're going to appeal, but what next, you know?
The correct outcome would be to say that Helen Grus acted within her lawful authority as an invested police officer in the province of Ontario, a peace officer of Canada, and that she was authorized and also mandated in doing so, and that her simple and professional and appropriate, and I'll say required, brief inquiry of a parent into a series of to try and piece together why basic information was missing from a set of very critical, basic, long-standing documents was appropriate, and she acted in 100% correct. Everything she did was lawful, correct. They're not saying it's unlawful; they're saying that it's against policy. It's against Ontario Policing Act, right, or regulations for tribunal, basically employee discipline for a police officer. But the correct outcome would be to make her whole, and to get her on a leadership track here, because she's the type of person who should be making decisions. She has the emotional maturity. She has the intelligence to be that person. She should be in leadership. She long ago passed sergeant. She should be a sergeant. She should be moving up from there by now.
I agree with you, but like, what is she going to need to happen? Are there going to have to be some members who come out and say, this is all BS?
Yeah. They need to come out. Well, the thing is, the idea of policing, it can't be a political operation. It can't, like, in general, you can't have political movements in police forces, because that takes away from the independence and objectivity they're supposed to have, right? And so the thing about what Helen did is she did not make this public, first of all. That was the leaker who went to CBC with confidential police information, who was never held accountable, who they never even tried to find, who'd leak that to the press.
We know who that is, though.
Created this entire, I don't believe so. I mean, maybe somebody does.
I think Dave's got her name.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say, like, I have no idea. But the police service doesn't give. Like, this is a person who actually leaked confidential police information to the public, to the CBC, for no good reason. And then the police says, you know what, that's fine. We're just going to prosecute her for looking on CPIC, for looking 22 unauthorized record acts, which he admitted was not for personal use and not shared for others, not for her or for her gain. But because there was basic information missing off a decades-old sheet about the sudden death of an infant, and she's like, "Why?" First time in 20 years seeing that. Does a quick call to a parent asking why. Hey, was so and so had this, because we're missing some really basic information here. I need to do some basic follow-up to make sure that we did our due diligence as a police force into your deceased family member. It's our obligation to the community.
What's your take on the temperature of the police department right now? Are they just wanting this whole thing? I'm not even talking about the leadership. I'm talking about the rank and file members here. I mean, there was a couple of them in that video that we just played who were standing out there. I don't know what their thoughts were, but somebody inside has got to say something, considering how well respected Helen is. you think somebody, at least one or two people, would have already come out and said something.
I think internally there's a lot of support, and police officers, like, as I understand it, like to keep it that way. They're not political, but that's the thing. When something like this happens, you can't just be quiet about your agreement or disagreement. You have to say this is wrong and move on. But as I understand, in the robbery unit, she's very well liked. She's a great supervisor, and literally that day after that verdict, she went out and wrote a warrant for someone doing her job that day. Getting justice for somebody who was a victim of a crime, right? Investigating and doing her job still on the day that she's being persecuted. She literally goes and leaves there, has lunch, and then goes and does her police job and gets a warrant for a scumbag somewhere, right? So she's an amazing person. She's indestructible. And that's why they're running her over, because she's like one of the only police officers in the entire world who in any remote way looked in. And she didn't go around to specify, because there's a caricature of this event of where she went around and was harassing people about that. She used a police record search, which means she went on CPIC or whatever it is on the police system, looked up these cases, which are their mandate, noticed the discrepancy, because I think it was another officer, I think it was reported, who went to her and said, hey, did you know that all of this big burst of babies' deaths has happened in our unit that's mandated to investigate them, and for some reason they're missing this information on it. And she's like, oh, really? Or some, basically, is again, grain of salt, guys. Let's look into the specifics here. But I believe that's the story. And then she goes onto her work computer, which access to these systems. It's like if you go on Facebook and I look up the name Shadoe Davis, and then I click his picture. Is that 2 record searches right there? I looked his name up and I clicked his picture. So like when she's literally just searching these 9 records and seeing that each single one of them is missing basic information that has been there her entire career. She's not on a crusade. Like Renwick was like, oh, I reject the fact that this wasn't done with malice. Of course, F you. Like, how dare you? Right? Like his logic was he said all the negative media coverage that was given to the Ottawa police through this trial is an aggravating factor against Helen, but the negative coverage of Helen, and he gave the example of the CBC, is I'm so unfortunate, but too bad. Neutral. Bad for us, doesn't matter for you.
This Renwick guy, I mean, he was a superintendent, right?
He's bumbling. He's not.
Well, yeah, he is. But I mean, like, he's retired, this guy.
Yeah, so they brought him in. That's why they brought him in, because they do that. The retired people bring him in. They're objective, right? They're going to rule properly. He doesn't know how to adjudicate. His logic is Swiss cheese, and he's very ideologically driven. I don't think he's a bad guy per se. I don't think he's bad at all. I don't think he's malicious. I just think he's stupid and uninformed. And I think that he, like everybody else, was harmed, traumatically wounded, psychologically wounded by the.
Hold on. I mean, he was a superintendent who didn't know the rules of investigation.
No. So I don't believe when he did this, he did it out of malice. He did it out of stupidity and also blind allegiance to the things that everyone's have been conditioned to, right? But the thing about what happened with Helen is nothing she did, and this has to be emphasized over and over again, was exuberant, was protest in nature, was anything like that. She was informed that there was a spike in her unit mandated to do this, and that I believe it was, asked Dave Freedom of somebody, that the person informing her about this burst also said that none of them had this basic information on it. And she said, oh, really? So she goes into her little laptop, which has all these things on it, and as an investigator of the unit, why would she ever in her mind think, well, I'm not allowed to do this? She does it every fucking day, hundreds of times a day, looking up everything. It's in the mandate. And then she looks up the record and sees that this basic level, this basic information, like to put it in perspective, the name of a person on a homework, on test, like the name field is gone. Well, why is this basic, non-persuasive, like non-penetrative, basic information missing? And then so she looks at all of them and says, okay, I'm going to just call John Doe and ask about this. Say, just because I am a detective, think about this for a second. Her mandate as a SACA detective was to investigate these deaths. She's obligated to ensure that they are performed properly. Now, the argument was made, oh, you didn't go through the chain of command. Was it your specific investigation? Doesn't matter. How many times have detectives crossovers on each other's file? Do they ask for superintendent or chief permission every time? Of course not. Especially within a unit. No, that's nonsense. It's a totally invented logic. It's not real. It's an invented barrier to something that she did was totally benign and routine.
Well, that's what I mean when I say, like, Renwick would have known all of this stuff. If you make
he should have.
Right? I mean, you make it the superintendent, you got to know the rules, man.
There's probably police officers who have never seen this sudden infant death form, to be fair. and even flag officer like brass, because as I understand, this is something more related to those mandated to investigate baby deaths. Everyone has their box, right? Everyone in the police force has a specialty, you know, like there's the robbery unit, there's the SACA unit, there's the senior abuse unit,
and everybody's got their own process, obviously. But the thing is, I mean, he could have gone to look that up, right?
Like, he could have, and absolutely, he should have known. He should have known, and it's not right if he invented logic that's not real. And his ruling is dangerous because it basically says that if a police officer wants to investigate something, they have to have the permission of a supervisor. A detective constable has to have the permission of a supervisor to investigate anything, is basically where you can take the conclusion of what he said, which is false and illogical. And second of all, he basically said that you can't investigate a politician or something with political connotations without having political permission. So basically, like, oh, if a politician steals $8 million, we're doing a fraud investigation. We got to go ask that person for permission. He also invented something, and I've verified this with multiple people. Inside that room in the decision, he said that Helen Grus conducted an unauthorized investigation of a political official, which never happened. Never did it. That's why I kept asking, like, I haven't had the opportunity to read the written decision yet, but his verbal decision was diarrhea. It was verbal diarrhea. It was illogical. It was inventing facts. I'm not an expert on the case. I sat on maybe 5, 6, 7 days out of how many there were. Like, this thing went on, and this was like the Tamara trial. Like, this was months of trial time. So I'm not a subject matter expert, but
okay. So he's making. He said
up that she invested at what it was like a very quick thing, might have been a misspeaking, but and I've confirmed this with like 4 or 5 people. He said that she conducted an unauthorized investigation into a political official, which she had no point ever did. And if he was actually saying that, and it wasn't just a misspeaking, then that would, of course, you would have to say who she was investigating. Put a name to it. Was it Justin Trudeau? Was it the mayor of Ottawa, Jim Watson? Who was it? Was it Doug Ford? No, she looked at 9 records in her police system, where she looks at hundreds of records a day as a detective accessing the system. 22 unauthorized entries sounds really terrible, doesn't it? Probably means scrolling to the bottom of the entire PDF of the PDF file, and every single row is a unauthorized record. It's nonsense. It's like why you're obligated to protect and investigate these children. You're missing basic information. You didn't do your due diligence. She has to go and she does a brief minute-long follow-up with a parent in private as a police officer and says, hey, was so-and-so vaccinated? And that was the end of it. And all of this. And she never concealed this. I think, reported this to people, like asked people, hey, why is this basic thing that we've been using my 20 years here not on these forms? Well, like this is, I've never seen this. This seems like a bit of a problem here. Okay, can we correct that? So I mean, it's important to drill that home.
So when when we move forward with the appeal, as she announced the other day, where does it go now? Does it actually go to a court, or is it another police?
Apparently, there's another board that's like the I guess the provincial review for the disciplinary meeting, and then after that would be to the Court of Justice.
So this could go on for the next 5 years more.
And it's a shame, because Helen Grus is a beautiful woman. You saw her there. She's a strong, independent, very intelligent woman who's totally driven by her morals and her values as a police officer to do good by the victims that she serves and protects, to fill out basic information like the name of it on your test that you hand into your teacher. You're missing information that has never been missing before. Why? And all she did was look that up on their system and make a 2-minute phone call to someone, and it blew up into hundreds of thousands of dollars in cost to defend her good name, and 2-year demotion with a $15,000 or something pay cut, and a delay of leadership positions that she was well on her way to. She passed her sergeant's exam. After that, it's just politics and getting the actual promotion. You have to pass your exam first. With flying carpets, as Ricky would say, passed with flying carpets. And she needs to be in leadership. We need Helen Grus in leadership. So it's a tragedy for my city that Helen Grus has to endure this, and as a good cop, and can't be where she should be, in charge.
All right, time's up. You got to come back. Though. I mean, you got to come back. I mean,
that's what I wanted to say. It was beautiful. It's a bad day. Beautiful, because she doesn't give up. She's undefeated.
These last 90 minutes have been. It feels like 10 minutes to me. I mean, and we've covered so much. I mean, this has been a great night. And I want to thank you, John, for coming on. At
Thank
Right
you.
Blend, you guys find him on all the social medias, on X, Instagram, Facebook, all the social medias. At Right
Thanks for
Blend.
giving me a soapbox, brother.
Dude, this has been great. I loved it. Thank you.
It's
Come
been
back
great.
soon. Come back
Helen
soon.
Grus, we all need to support her because we need women like her. We need people like her. That's period. Doesn't matter the gender. She's a good person. Good
All
police
right, bro.
officer.
Take it easy.
They exist.
Talk to you later. There is Right Blend, John Villeneuve, you guys. I mean, wow. It was a great conversation about so many things. Like and share. If you do not share this, if you don't like this, at the very, very least, it will die on the vine. Nobody's going to see it because that's what the algorithms do. So you've got to make sure, and you might think to yourself, well, I've only got 45 friends on Facebook, Shadoe. How can I help? The more of you that share this, the higher chance we're going to get into the recommended phase of the algorithm, which means many people who don't even follow this page or this channel on YouTube or on X, the account on X, will see it. And then they'll start following and we'll get more and more and more people. That's how that works. That's why I say like and share all the time. So get it out there, guys. Do it now. Don't forget. I'll do it later. You won't. I can guarantee you won't. Do it now. Share it now. Get it out there now. And tell people what this show is about. You can say it was about Canada. You can say it was about how they've treated this incredibly brave police detective in Ottawa. I mean, there's so many things we talked about tonight. It's up to you to describe it, but all I ask is that you share it. If you want to support independent media in this country, if you want to make sure that independent media survives the censorship regime of Mark Carney's Liberals going forward, then become a member at shadoedavis.com, just like it's spelled right there and down there, shadoedavis.com. Become a member monthly, yearly, I don't care which, all access member, and also join the Shadoe Davis Show group on Telegram. Those people over there are absolutely amazing and supportive and like-minded. I love them. Hopefully you become one of them as well. shadoedavis.com. Don't forget. Guys, I want to leave you with something that I put on the show a couple of months ago. And I was amazed that there's people out there who are actually doing this kind of investigation. This guy's name is Vesper. Now, you may have heard me refer to him before as a guy who may be a part of the conservative media. And when I say the conservative media, I mean the Conservative Party of Canada media, that he's on their payroll. And that may be, I don't know. Those people, and there's a few of them, the accounts I'm not going to name here because I've done it before and whatever, won't talk about certain things that the Conservative Party of Canada doesn't talk about. But they do talk a lot about Mark Carney and his ties to Brookfield. They don't go into the deeper aspects of it. They don't go into Mark Carney's ties with the UN. They don't talk a lot about G-fonts because now it becomes a complicated issue and most normies, by and large, won't understand it. They haven't got the attention span. They don't want to take the time to understand who Mark Carney really is. So if you guys want to go on X, look up Vesper and find this particular piece I'm about to play. Get it out there. Share it. It's about 9, maybe 10 minutes long. It was released at the end of May. And I told him, I messaged him and said, dude, this is a great piece. It's almost Promethean action-like. He doesn't go, in my opinion, he doesn't go quite far enough with his analysis, but he breaks it down. He breaks down who Mark Carney is and what he's really doing to Canada. Watch this.
Finally found the clip. And what clip am I talking about? And why does this matter, you might be asking yourself? I'm glad you asked, because I'll tell you why. Proof. And this is the whole point of why I'm doing this. Not guesses, not sensationalism, not conspiracies, documented proof. Because Mark Carney's nice, polished little resume, you know, the one that the liberals and the mainstream media class have been fawning all over, actually starts to look ugly the longer you peel back the layers of this onion. So let's rewind. Bank of England, United Nations, Brookfield, World Bank, GFANZ, Climate Finance, Advisor, Prime Minister. Sounds impressive, right? It is impressive. This is the whole point of this. It sounds really good. It's very serious, very global, very like, don't worry, the adults are in the room serious. Let me start over a little bit. This isn't just about Mark Carney's resume, okay? This is about breadcrumbs, a trail that's been left for all of us. And thanks to the innovation of the internet, we're able to capitalize on these breadcrumbs/trails. One thing's for certain, and you need to keep in mind, Mark Carney did not end his United Nations role for ESG to go work at Brookfield. No. He was doing both at the same time. And that's the problem here. One hat was the public hat, the UN climate finance guy for the world. He's the guy helping push this big, global, massive, out of this world idea with massive piles of money so they could move it into basically the green, sustainable sector and make it investable. To save the planet, of course. The trees, the bees, the oceans, the children, to avoid a sixth mass extinction.
One of the things, Mr. Polyev, is perhaps unlike you, I accept that climate change is real. We're talking about the sixth mass extinction, and the issue to address it requires renewable energy.
Right? That's what all this is about, Carney. And then there's the other hat, Brookfield, a giant soul-sucking behemoth of an investment company basically looking at this whole climate push and saying, there's a shit ton of money here. Big money. Let's build products. And yeah, keep mentioning birds and bees and that bullshit. And that's where this gets ugly. On one side, Carney's basically helping to push the world towards climate financing and investing. But on the other side of this whole thing, he's working for the company that sells this climate investing. Same time, same guy, public climate hat, private money hat. It's like he's both the referee and the star player for Brookfield Junior High. He's playing both sides at the same time. In any normal universe, anyone would look at this and say, like, hold on, man, that's a serious breach of trust. It's immoral. It's unethical. How could you be setting up the rules and then playing by the rules that you just rigged? But that's, I guess, how technocrats play this game, right? Rig it and then play it. And that's where Bruce Flatt comes in. Bruce Flatt, CEO of Brookfield. And this is that clip that I was talking to you about. So Bruce Flatt gets on camera, and this is in 2020, and says out loud the part that's going to make all this click for you. Not hyperbole, not speculation, not conjecture, evidence. He's not some critic. He's not some guy online. He's Brookfield's own CEO. And I want you to listen carefully to this extract and how he talks. He's not talking about saving the planet. He's not talking about birds, bees, and trees. He's talking about clients, products, portfolios, and where the money is going. Just watch.
We think this can be very significant. It's a meaningful extension for us, and the business never existed before. So we think this could be a $25 to $50 billion business for us, and we've started up with a number of people doing this within our organization. You may have seen we brought into the business Mark Carney, who is one of the leaders in impact and ESG around the world. We plan on creating a vertical of funds which will have a theme of impact investing. This is a very significant area of investment for funds for the next 25 years. We think this could be $50 to $100 billion AUM business.
Pause it right there. Did you hear that? Big institutional clients want ESG products. He talks about moving assets around the world into sustainable investments. Translation, a giant pile of money is available, and Brookfield wants to be as close as it can to a seat at that table. For the planet, of course. It's always for the planet and the children and the bees. Then comes this line. Bruce Flatt, CEO of Brookfield, says, Mark Carney and the things being done at the UN are going to help Brookfield tailor these strategies for our client. Not for the trees, not for the bees, not for clean rivers and shit. For clients. That's why this clip matters. He's talking like a CEO. Demand, products, clients, strategies, leverage. And then in the middle of all that, he drops Mark Carney and the UN. Carney's at the UN helping push climate change finance strategies. At the same time, time, he's at Brookfield helping build the ESG products that fit within that world that he's building at the UN. And Bruce Flatt is just sitting there like nobody's going to notice what they just did right here. Please understand how serious this actually is. Not that you don't already understand. The CEO of Brookfield is bragging about, I have one of the regulators for ESG who is setting up the rules in the United Nations, at the World Bank, at the IFC. Oh, and he just started working for us to help us develop the products that we need. So the regulator is now also the producer, and everyone's clapping for this. That's the whole thing. That's the business version, not the save the planet version, not the green agenda version. No, the business version. Clients, products, portfolios, asset transitions, strategies. That's not a climate speech, okay? That's a money meeting, a business meeting. And Bruce Flatt just said this all out loud. He just showed you the game and how this whole thing is basically rigged. This is why this timeline matters and why this clip is vital documentation. First, central banking, then climate risk, then the UN, then Brookfield, then slowly inch into advisor in Canada, and then prime minister. So climate starts out as a public issue. And for some crazy reason, it then becomes a banking issue. Then it becomes an investor issue. Then it becomes a rule book issue. Then it becomes a product. Then a shit ton of money goes into this product. And Mark Carney keeps showing up at the exact same spots where public speeches end up becoming private profit. Don't you find that weird? I mean, normal people hear climate action and what do we think? Clean water, fresh air, and all that type of stuff. The birds, the bees, the trees. But then it gets handed over to bankers. That's the issue. So now it's not pollution is bad anymore. Now it's basically clients want ESG products. Suddenly it's assets need to transition. Capital has to be mobilized. Strategies need to be tailored. And regular people like me are told, hey, pay more, accept more rules, and smile because I'm putting a green leaf on a brochure. See, we're saving the planet. I'm trying to strip away the cute branding bullshit that all these people are putting on everything. I want to get rid of all the investing language, the stakeholder language, the sustainability language, all the fancy language that people who are too ambitious for their own good use for financial opportunity. Big clients want this. Big money is moving. Brookfield basically wants it. Carney at the UN is the one helping to build that strategy. And then Carney becomes prime minister, of course. And this is where the question becomes even more provocative because this isn't a guy anymore collecting just fancy titles here and there anymore. It's not about that. This is a guy who was in the climate finance world. Then he was in Brookfield. Then he went into net zero. And now he's inside the office that can shape all of this and change any rules. Energy rules, infrastructure rules, public spending, subsidies, approvals, banking pressure, pension pressure. What gets funded? What gets blocked? What gets punished? What gets rewarded? That's real power. So if anyone ever tells you, why would Mark Carney leave millions of dollars on the table being the chair of this or that, special envoy to this or to that, and leave all that to basically become a prime minister of a country for $400,000 plus change and leave behind him on the table millions of dollars in salary from multiple companies beyond Brookfield? A guy like this is not chasing a salary. The office is that prize. The power is the prize. The ability to shape the rules around the strategies that you built. That's the prize. Carney didn't drop the UN stuff, the Brookfield stuff for the money when he was going to Ottawa to become prime minister. He went from a guy that was inside the machine building it to the guy that now gets to sit on the chair to steer this machine that he just built for himself. And this is why this clip is important. The CEO of Brookfield just told you the referee is now playing for Brookfield High, and then he becomes the prime minister and gets to change the rules of Canada in a way that with a majority would be very easy. How are we supposed to react to this? CBC tells you celebrate. We have a great man in the office now. That's the level of gaslighting bullshit that every single person is being fed.
Vesper on X. Go follow him. I think he just started a YouTube channel as well. He doesn't put out regular videos like that all the time because it takes a lot to write it, put it together, film it, edit it, all that stuff. But I mean, that was released at the end of May. And that is absolutely amazing. That is a very realistic look at who Mark Carney is and what he represents. What Mark Carney represents, or actually who he represents, the City of London. He is their mouthpiece. He is the new Klaus Schwab. And he's jamming ESG down our throats like it has been for the past 10 years. He's not going to get rid of it. He is not going to turn Canada back into the direction that it needs to be going in in order to become an energy powerhouse, like they keep saying. It's absolute nonsense. It's absolute BS. Well, the idea of it isn't. The idea of them saying it is. ESG, environmental social governance, ESG scores. All businesses, in order to get certain tax breaks or licenses, let's just say, from governments like the federal government of Canada, possibly provincial governments as well, have to submit an ESG score. Now, how do you do this? Well, you have to prove that you're climate conscious. Maybe you have to put out an advertising campaign in support of the Green New Deal. Maybe it's as simple as throwing some money at a gay pride parade. Maybe it's bringing in some DEI expert every couple of weeks to have a consultation with staff members who are breaking the rules because of their, white supremacist style attitude. Sorry, white entitlement. And when you do that enough, you build up a good ESG score, which gives you a great rate to borrow money. That's what G-Funds was all about. Now, why are they doing this? As a method of control, so that they can continue to gain wealth and power and make people fear everything. Because then what happens? They're easier to control. I want you guys to look at this because this is very important. It's just developing. Juno News reported this about 2 hours before showtime tonight, which was 8 o'clock Central. Exclusive military intelligence identified digital IDs, CBDCs, as tools of authoritarian control. What? Now, this is something we've been hearing about for a while, right? Military intelligence, though? Military intelligence warned liberals that digital IDs, CBDC, were effective tools of authoritarian control. Interesting that they would warn the liberals, considering the liberals are the ones who are more than likely behind it. But again, let's not fall for political games. This is not about politics. This is about the City of London and their banking cartel versus whatever interest Donald Trump represents. Whether that's the United States of America or some other group like the Tech Bros, Israel maybe, the entire Middle East for that matter, is anybody's guess. But that's the war that's going on right now. And Mark Carney is playing for the other team as far as I'm concerned. He's on the black team. Canadian military intelligence warned that digital identity, central bank digital currency, smart cities, and other digital technologies form the basis of an authoritarian toolkit, an architecture capable of surveillance and state control, especially when combined. But provincial and federal governments are incrementally advancing the same technologies, and this sentence should have the word anyway tacked to the end of it. But provincial and federal governments are incrementally advancing the same technologies anyway. Juno News obtained a 2024 Canadian Forces Intelligence Command assessment after a lengthy and fraught access to information process. The request was filed more than a year ago by Juno and sought 12 records, but only one has been disclosed so far. Much of the material was initially considered too sensitive, with the intelligence assessment itself marked top secret, Canadian eyes only. I'm assuming that means federal government, elected and bureaucratic officials, probably. Significant portions remain withheld for national security reasons. What? Why don't they just say it's a conspiracy theory? Just brush it off. It's a conspiracy theory. Nothing to worry about. Just the quackos online again. You know how they are. But instead, oh, no. We've got to withhold this for national security reasons. The partially disclosed material examines how authoritarian governments like Russia, China, I don't believe that Russia is an authoritarian government, but use digital technologies to monitor their populations, restrict individual behavior, and reinforce state control. So if you are a member of Juno News, you can go there and you can read the whole thing. All right, that's it for the show tonight, you guys. Thank you for being here. Again, do not forget to become an all-access member at shadoedavis.com and join the Telegram group, the Shadoe Davis Show group on Telegram. You get the show there every night at 8 o'clock Central. And if you're into audio-only kind of stuff, I do post the audio version of the show every night on the Shadoe Davis Show Substack page. So go there and become a member, sign up. That's free. You guys have a fantastic night. Have a great sleep. Have a great day tomorrow. I love you all, and I thank you for your support, and I will see you again soon. All right. Bye for now.